Well, good evening, everybody. Thank you for being here tonight. We really appreciate you all coming out for our forum. We've got all of our candidates here. It should be an interesting night, and it should be a lot of fun. For the ones that I've met tonight, this is new to them. This is a pretty good staff of candidates we've got here, so we're looking forward to what they have to say. There's a few little rules and regulations we're going to try to abide by tonight. I think you got a piece of paper when you came in the door. Looks something like this. If you have a question you want to ask any of the candidates, there's a picture on that piece of paper, and then there's a place to write your question down. And I would encourage you to do that immediately, because those questions need to be turned in to Cullen and to Matt. What we're going to try to do is we're going to get the questions into some type of category where not everybody's asking the same question over and over and over. So we want to get through as many questions as we can tonight. We've got a fair amount of time to do this with. We hope that you enjoy this. And we want to thank the city of Granbury and the city managers of Granbury, because they've allowed us to have this venue here, the City Hall, the council chambers, as a public service. And I think that was a great opportunity for us to allow this to happen here tonight. It's a great place to have a meeting, so we really do appreciate that. I want to encourage you to be sure and fill out your questions, any of them that you have, and get them in as quick as you can. And if you get you have a question you want to write down, if you see some of our people wearing the white vest, wave at them. They'll come pick it up and bring it to the guys up here. So we want to get that done as quick as possible. We're going to try to keep our questions in a timely fashion. We don't want really long, drawn-out questions, because there's a lot of things that are going to be to the point. And then we're also going to ask our candidates to do likewise in their answers. Like Bill O'Reilly says, we don't need a lot of bloviating on this. So, but we want to get as many questions answered as we can. All right, we would like, at this time, we would ask Maury Simpson, our chaplain, to come up and lead us in a word of prayer.
Shall we all please stand? You know, tonight is the beginning of our being able to set some things right. We have a lot of challenges out that we are facing now. And this is an opportunity to begin to start working on what's wrong with this country. Let us pray. Eternal God, our Father, we give you all praises, and we thank you. We thank you once again for this gathering, for this place that you have allowed us to have. Father, we thank you that we have people here that have enough interest in their country, in their state, in their city, in their county, to come out and try to pick the right person that will get us to where we need to go. Father, we ask that as we go through this meeting tonight, keep our hearts pure and clean so that we can evaluate things in the way that you would have us to evaluate them, and don't let us lean to our own understanding. Father, we ask that you just continue to bless those leaders that we have now. Bless them, Father, and touch them so that they will learn what is right and do what is right. Father, we also ask that you just bless these organizations that are spending their time and effort to try to lead us in the right direction. We pray for our leaders of these organizations. Father, we ask these and all other blessings in your Son, Jesus' name. And all of God's people said, amen.
At this time, I'd like for all the veterans to stand, please. Let's give them a round of applause, please. And at this time, if you will all stand, we'll do our pledges to our flags. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state under God, one and indivisible.
Thank you so much. Now, one other thing that I'm going to say before we get started on the forum is I want to thank all the candidates because, you know, for you to take the time, effort, and the dollars that it takes to run for these offices is a pretty good drain on family life and business life and the things you do. So it's a privilege that they will step out there and do that, and we really thank them for doing that. Thank you very much. At this time, I want to introduce our two moderators. We have Mr. Cullen Crisp here on my right, and Mr. Matt Mills also on my right. They will go over a few things with you, and from this point on, we want the questions to come in, and we're going to get started with this forum. So thank y'all so much.
Okay, just a couple of quick ground rules, and then we'll get going. I'm going to be the timekeeper tonight. Everybody is going to have 1 minute per opening and 1 minute per closing and 1 minute per question. So everything's 1 minute long, and we've been over that with all the candidates. We'd like to spend longer, but we got a lot of people up here, obviously, so we just don't have time, or else we'll be here all night, or else we can't get to as many questions as we would like. So 1 minute for everything, and it's going to be timed, and I'm going to be the timekeeper. I'll have a little 15 up here. That's 15 seconds left. And then I got a little stop up here. That means stop. Everybody understand that? 15 and stop, okay? So try to find the end of your thoughts at 15, okay? We're going to be going back and forth so that nobody has the advantage every time of speaking last or first. So I think we'll start here and work that way, and then we'll work that way, this way, and so forth, snake back and forth so that nobody has the advantage every time. For those in the audience, and I guess up here too, if you have a cell phone or anything that makes noise, please turn that off so it's not going off in the middle of somebody speaking and giving their thoughts. If you have questions, like we said, just bring them up here. We've got more questions coming in than we have time to get to. If you do the math, we got time for maybe 7 or 8 questions, and that's about it with this group of people. Briscoe Dunn is speaking on behalf of Tony Mobley. Tony's the only one who is not able to attend tonight. He told me a few weeks ago he had a conflict. He is not able to be here. So Briscoe is going to give a 1 minute opening, and I don't know if he's going to do a 1 minute closing. No. Okay. He's not going to answer any questions, so basically he's going to give a scripted 1 minute opening, and I guess that's it for Briscoe on behalf of Tony Mobley. So other than that, all the candidates are here, and that's basically it. Do you have anything, Cullen? Any ground rules? Okay. Cullen's going to be doing all the talking from here on out. I'll just be the timekeeper, and you can just kick it off. And then after we kick off with 1 minute opening, we'll do all the questions. And then when you want to wrap up, he'll wrap up with about 10 minutes to spare. And then with that 10 minutes, we'll do a 1 minute closing. If you have any last thoughts you want to convey, you have 1 minute to do so. Okay? Make sense? Everybody got it? Okay.
Okay, I'll keep my intro very short. I just want to say thank you to the candidates for your time and effort. Also, I want to thank everybody out in the audience who has raised a question, and that's how we limit government, is ask questions. So thank you for these questions. All right, so we'll go ahead and begin on the end for your intro, if you would.
Okay. Do we get a microphone? Yes. Yes. Okay. I believe Granbury is a great city, and what makes it great is not only its tourism, but its rich, vibrant businesses, and it's something that we need to continue to nurture in the long run, not just the large businesses, but the small businesses that make up the character of Granbury. Granbury has a great character to it, and it's something that we want to preserve over the long haul, and keeping the economic engine of our city rolling is very important, and that's something that we look forward to doing by helping out with making sure that the lake is taken care of over the long run, and we address issues that it's going to affect everybody over the long term, like water independence, and that's something that is very important to me.
Hi, good evening. My name is J.T. Wenth, and I'd like to thank y'all for having me tonight. I'm sure every candidate here tonight is going to talk about the lake level, the Opera House, and all the other challenges that the city will be facing, or are facing and will be facing in the future. I'm no different than anybody else. I believe it's God's will that we each serve our community, our family, our church. And for me personally, I feel like this is my next step. I've spent years serving different children's organizations. My children are a little bit older now, so what better way to spend my time to start to serve our city? I believe that I can help move the city, be a part of a team that can move the city to where we need to go. I mean, this is a growing city. We can't keep people away from our great city of Granbury, so it's up to us to make it as best that we can make it as a community. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I'm Tony Allen, and I thank the Tea Party for inviting us, and all y'all that came out, thank you for coming out. Also, I thank my wife of 47 years for being here tonight. My two sons, they live here. One of them's, I think, in California on his other business, and couldn't make it, and the other boy who was working. So I do appreciate it. My wife and I lived in Cleveland, growed up over there, and every time we had a chance, we'd come to Granbury. We said, someday we're going to retire in Granbury. Well, the good Lord's willing, we come, but we haven't retired yet. We're still working. But we're at home. We feel like Granbury's our place for us. I've never been in politics until I ran before. I had a passion for Granbury in the Hood County. And I sat back. I was going to run the first time. Somebody else ran. And they said, well, he's a good guy. You don't need to run. So I didn't run. But I came to every council meeting for the first year before I got on, except 2. I've been on 3.5 years, and I haven't missed another one yet. We'll talk about the lake level spending and growth of the city on the last one.
Was you ready for that tactic? John Bratta, I just want to start out by telling you why I'm qualified for this position in City Council. I have a master's degree from Pepperdine University in school administration. I have a bachelor's degree in police administration from Cal State Los Angeles. I have a real estate license, and I've attended law school. I have 39 years in education. Of the 39 years, 37 of them were in supervisory or principalship positions. I have credentials in school administration, school supervision, political science, social science, health, public safety, and accident prevention. I also have a Peace Officer Standard and Training Certificate. I've been a business owner for 30 years. I was a landlord for over 30 years, a college professor, educational consultant, park commissioner, HOA chairman. I've been a church elder for 10 years. I've been a Bible study teacher for 12, a varsity coach, chairman of fundraising car shows, and the producer of GodBlessAmerica.org, a family value website. Thank you.
Just learned how quick 1 minute is. Okay, ready? Okay, I'm Rose Myers. I'm running for City Council, the Place 4 open seat. I am married. My husband Daniel is in the audience. We have 3 children, 4 grandchildren, and I'm the youngest of 10 children. My sister Marie is in the audience as well. She's a teacher at the 9th grade center. We've been coming to Granbury since the 1980s, and we were blessed to buy a home here in 2005. Currently, I'm employed with AbbVie, formerly Abbott Labs. My main focus is patients with autoimmune disease. I have over 20 years of corporate experience in healthcare, and I currently manage a $4 million territory. Prior to that, in my previous life, I had 15 years of insurance agency business, and I worked for Kay Granger, the Congresswoman in Fort Worth. I've knocked on over 500 doors. My issues are lake levels, fiscal responsibility, and economic development. In my closing, I'll tell you more about my preparation and my run for council. Thank you to the Hood County Tea Party.
My name is Ken Gray. I'm delighted to be here this evening. I'm accompanied by my wife, Terry. We have 9 grandchildren, and I'm partially retired. I'm currently serving as a customer service manager at our neighborhood Walmart. If I look familiar, that's why. I spent more than 2 decades with the U.S. Coast Guard. 13 on active duty, and later as the chief of the Medals and Awards branch at Coast Guard headquarters. I was responsible for developing all the award criteria and eligibility requirements for the Operation Desert Shield and Desert Storm Awards. I co-authored and many times authored my own award citations for all of our civilian and military heroes. I bring my candidacy to the City Council of Granbury for the purpose of improving the leadership and accountability. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Tom Baker. I'm running on the unexpired term for the 1-year seat. It's place number 4. I came to Granbury with my wife about 5 years ago. Most of you came here as tourists and then relocated. I came to buy a business and did. I own the Pomegranate House along with my wife. We've been highly involved in the festivals, events going around the square. A lot of things are tourist oriented and such. I was the president of the local Bed and Breakfast Association for a few years. I've been vice president of the Bed and Breakfast Association of Virginia for a few years before that. I became involved with City Council because I wanted to know what was going on in the city, what was the philosophy behind those decisions, those kinds of things. And I've spent more time at some of these council meetings than some of our current sitting council members have, along with the budget workshops that we have each year. They're pretty boring, but actually I get enjoyment out of them to know what's happening with the city and such. Thank you.
I'm Briscoe Dunn. I'm down here supposed to read something for Tony. It's a whole lot easier to talk for yourself than it is for somebody else. And I've only got 1 minute to do this in. Since choosing Granbury as his home in 2004, Tony has built a successful business by helping clients build strong financial foundations. Now as a candidate for the City Council, he wants to do the same for Granbury. Both in his business dealings and personal life, Mobley has proven himself to be a man of character and commitment. He and his wife Kathy have been married for almost 30 years and are active members of the Acton United Methodist Church. They've raised 2 sons together before recently downsizing to the City Historical District near the City Square. Tony has volunteered for Joseph's Locker, Food Pantry, Ruth's Place, Free Medical Clinic, and Mobile Food Pantry and Rotary for Pets, a program which is sponsored by Meals on Wheels. Elected to the City Council, Tony said he would distribute his $12,000 in annual council pay between Ruth's Place, Mission Granbury, Joseph's Locker, and a project to which he recently donated 2 vehicles. Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Scooter Thomas, and thank all of y'all coming out to support me. I've been in Granbury 64 of my 74 years. I've served on various committees. I've been on the zoning variance board. I served 20 years on the Hood County Children's Charity Fund. I've been in real estate here, 10 years in different towns, Chamber of Commerce manager, executive vice president. I have a degree from A&M, not a big, long 4-year degree, but a degree in industrial development they give after you've gone so many hours to their classes. I enjoy Granbury. I have really kind of cringed at how big it's getting. I can remember when we had a river and not a lake, so go way back. I just saw my 15 and I'm gonna shut up.
I'll take rest of yours. I'm Nan Hill, and I'm presently the Mayor Pro Tem of Granbury, Texas. I was selected as a council member in 2011, was selected as a Mayor Pro Tem in 2012. And as you know, with the unfortunate event with Mayor Ricky Pratt, I was set into the mayor's position in December. And you know, there's a lot of things that I have done, and most of it is because the citizens in Granbury have helped me through all these things. There's been several challenges that I was faced with when I got into this, and trust me, it wasn't done, it wasn't accomplished by just me. It was accomplished with the citizens of Granbury and the staff of the Granbury city. So they've helped me through all these, and I have decided to go ahead and put my name in the hat for the mayor of Granbury, because the citizens are out there, just like what we see here tonight with the showing of the people out here. The citizens get out there and they help you accomplish your missions. And I can go on and on. 1 minute is not near enough to tell about the missions of Granbury and the missions and the things that I want to do for Granbury and the things that we are involved in right now. Thank you.
Good evening. I'm David Southern. I'm moved to Granbury in 1980 and have worked and lived here ever since. I grew up in the Texas Panhandle. I went to Abilene Christian, where I met my wife of 38 years. We chose to move here because we'd seen the town right after we married and we loved it. And we have been pleased that we chose to do that here. We have 2 children and 2 grandchildren and their spouses, and they all live here in Granbury and work here in Granbury. As you know, I think most people know, I served on the city council for over 24 years, 15 as your mayor. And I'm proud of the accomplishments that we were able to make during that time. We also were able to do it without raising the tax rate. In fact, we lowered the tax rate substantially during that time. I appreciate the time to talk. I think the major issue for us here tonight is economic development and how the lake and lack of water in the lake is affecting our economy. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much.
Well, I think tourism is the biggest industry that we have right in the city limits. Of course, there are other jobs around that people commute to. What we've done in the past is we've tried to spend more money during the time that the tourism economy is suffering. We would go into the regular tax rate and take money, not out of property taxes, but out of sales and bed tax, and try to spend more money to advertise the city. We need to get our story out there as much as possible. We need to advertise in the Metroplex. We need to get sponsorships with some of the news channels when they are asking, you know, I hear all the time, South Lake, everything they do at South Lake and Grapevine, I think sponsored by Channel 8, and we need to do more of that. We have to get our story out there because I think there are a lot more competitors for us today than there were 35 years ago. Thank you.
Tourism is a vital part of Granbury, Texas, and we need to get out there and promote it as much as we can. Right now, when I was looking back at some of the figures, you know, back in 2008, 2009, you know, our sales tax dropped. The lake level was up. So we weren't doing something right. So now, as you look at our figures, right now, the sales tax is up. We are staying constant. Matter of fact, we keep rising. And that is a plus for a community like this because with the lake level the way it is, you know, we have to struggle a lot just to keep, you know, the sales tax value up there. And I do think that most of that is the tourism that's coming in. And right now, you know, with our Opera House coming on board and such as that, it's going to do just what we need to keep Granbury's sales tax level where it needs to be. All the events we bring in, I'm just amazed at some of the events we bring in here to town, the wine walk, things like that. And all those things have kept us a constant sales tax rate. So I want to continue to promote that as much as possible.
The tourist business, I can remember when the first tourists came to Granbury and we had a business on the square, and if there's a little bitty water on the sidewalk, they'd lift up their britches and walk across that water like it was a lake. I can go back when the Opera House was first restored. Tourism is like picking cotton. You can pick a tourist a whole lot more times than you can pick cotton, and it's a lot more easier to do. Tourism is one of the main things we need to look at because it's a clean industry. Other industries, light industry, we need to really encourage. There's been some rumors that the city has stopped things from coming in. They didn't stop things from coming in. If something wants to come in and meet all the requirements, they can. But tourism is big, but we do need some industry and jobs.
Well, I came here because of tourism. I bought the Pomegranate House, which really is based on tourism. We looked at over 300 properties before we chose Pomegranate House and Granbury. Soon after we got here, they eliminated basically the whole Convention and Visitors Bureau, so we had one person then promoting Granbury. A couple years ago, the City Council put more money into the budget to promote tourism. We started getting things back again. The bed tax is up, the sales tax is up. This past budget, we reduced again 7% for the overall budget for tourism. We need to spend money for things that are going to promote us, not to keep cutting it back. Tourism is vital. Economic development will come if the tourism is here. Economic development is difficult though with high property tax, high water rates, high electric rates, but tourism will come almost no matter what things cost for the overall guest.
Is this working?
This one is.
Tourism is the responsibility not only of the government, but all the citizens of Granbury. It takes everybody committed to improving the city, investing in the city, and communicating about the city. It takes leadership on the city council to bring folks together to do what is necessary to promote tourism within the city of Granbury. Lake Granbury obviously is everybody's concern, but we have myriad other issues that we need to address to bring this city up where everybody wants to live and make it a place to visit.
Don't wait for me, just go.
Okay. As I said in my opening, I have been coming to Granbury since the 80s, and I have mentioned this to a couple of people in the room that I remember when Johnny High Country Music Review in Arlington and Fort Worth would load bus loads of people and come to Granbury and come to the Opera House, and we'd shop downtown. So I think tourism is going to be very important for us this year, especially since we have low lake levels, and I think what's very important is have a strong leader to guide us through that tourism. So our tourism director needs to be very diligent about marketing to churches and other organizations to make sure that we get busloads of people back down here. We can get people shopping in the square if we get people coming to the Opera House and coming to our shops to shop. So I think strong leadership is very important, and the council needs to back strong leadership for tourism. Thank you.
There's a lot of reasons we can improve and ways to improve the square movement. I think there's no one answer. I think a combination of contributions and ideas by the people involved, and we as a council would critically evaluate the best approach to do that in a manner that's fair to all. I think, to me, one of the critical areas that we have, and obviously, is the lake. And unless we as a council go out and defend the lake and bring back the lake and do everything possible for enhancing the future water situation in our city, I think we're at a tremendous disadvantage. I don't think the city should be asking for donations to do this. I think if we have money to spend for the Opera House, we should definitely have money without soliciting donations from the public to do what the city is responsible to do. Thank you.
Yes, when I got on council in 2010, our church budget was $200,000. I believe it got up to around 480,000. We did cut back 25,000 out of it this year, and that's for the grand opening of the new Opera House, which should be December the 5th. I think it's real important for us to have the Opera House, and it will help all the businesses downtown, but it will also help the businesses off the square. Because when they come in, these people, they spend money, they eat out, and they like to stay in a hotel here. So we get tax off of that, or a bed and breakfast. Take my minute off of time, okay? But in 2010, our tax revenue was 5.7. In 11, it was 6.2. So it is growing. Also, I was on the EDC board for the last year and a half. I got off of it the last meeting. I want to get on this water because I have been fighting for water since I've been here. And I was president of the Lake Granbury Waterfront for the first 3 years. I decided to run. Thank you.
I'm sorry. Well, we'll find out. My family and I moved here 13 years ago, and I was just amazed on the amount of people who came to Granbury for a square. I never understood it. Sometimes I still don't, but you know, it really just surprises me what the town square does for this city. But also in the process, my years of business here in Granbury and coming across a lot of people, you know, it's not just the town square that draws people here. People come to Granbury for lots of different reasons, whether it's youth sporting events. People come from almost across Texas, Frisco, Richardson, Mesquite, just to come to our drive-in movie theater. So what this city has to offer, I think we have the opportunity to capture a lot more than what we do. We certainly need to get the promotion of Granbury out there for people who don't know what we have here. But we have a good thing here. Very good.
The solution to tourism simple is have stuff for people to come do, and then tell people about having stuff to come do. If you have plenty of stuff for them to do, people are going to want to come to Granbury. One of the things that when we first moved down here in 2004, we noticed is that there was a vibrant square and there was lots of things to do in Granbury, and everybody was really excited about coming down to Granbury because of all the different things that there was to do. The activities on the square were vibrant, and there's always something seemed to be going on down on the square, and it really helps the feeling of things is when you see the square pop in and you see all sorts of vendors out there, and that's something that brings excitement to the city. I just want to say I've noticed that Granbury has been advertising itself. I get emails with Granbury in the title, and I don't know how I got those emails. I know that there is a lot more work that can be done to bring people into Granbury and to improve things. So there's definitely a long ways to go. Absolutely. I mean, the lake level is vital to everybody in this town. Everybody that lives on the lake, everybody that has a business in this town, everybody that lives in this town is affected by the lake levels. And it's something that we jointly share in the positive benefits of and in the negative benefits of. So we need to come together as a city to do what's needed to fix the issue. And there's been a lot of people that have been working on this issue to do a good job and to influence the parties that actually can do something about this. But when it comes down to it, sometimes it requires lawyers, and that means paying money for the lawyers to do a good job.
I agree that it is important to our lake issues to hire the lawyers, not knowing all the legal ins and outs of it, but I'm sure it's very, very extensive beyond any that we can imagine or even pursue to go out and fight for the right for us to maintain a water level. Unfortunately, you know, back in 1969 when the rights or the use of Granbury water was set up, it wasn't set for recreational use, but it would be awesome if we had a lawyer to go in there and fight for us and allowed us to maintain a water level that can keep this city vibrant. I don't live on the lake. I just throw a fishing pole in there, but it breaks my heart to see a house for sale that is on the lake level. I can't imagine how those people feel about losing their livelihood. Thank you.
Yes, I'm real interested in hiring lawyers to fight this. You're talking about a city and a county and problems and trouble. If our taxes go down, not our taxes, they're going to go down next year, but our value of our properties go down. The county and the city's got major, major problems next year. And that's why it's important. I agree with John when he said that we spent the $3 million on the Opera House, we ought to spend it on the water. I believe that with all my heart, that somebody asked me a while ago, said, you promised somebody would have water by April 1st. No, I never said that. It wasn't an April Fool joke. I said, I feel like by April 1st, we'll have something worked out with them, and I really do. I had an opportunity about 3 weeks ago to go to Don and Reen's house for dinner, and David Dewhurst was there, our lieutenant governor. And we've been talking back and forth, back and forth. We're trying to have a meeting set up next week with them. And the way you get to the top of things, you go to the top. And that's what we're going to do. Thank you.
I strongly agree with where we're going with the lawsuit at this point in time. I just felt we should have done it with much more enthusiasm, much more vigor as a city, and I think we should have done it 12 months ago. We're moving way too slow on this. Because of that delay, we have a problem. There's been no anticipation by our city council to prevent things like this from happening. I'm highly in favor of doing whatever we need to do, plus have an educational program for those that don't live on the lake as to how that would affect them. The revenue generation that Tony's referring to, or lack of, will hurt our city tremendously, and we need to communicate that, and we need to let people know that a high lake level is good for everyone, and that defending that high lake level will enhance everyone's value and keep taxes down.
I strongly support the efforts of the LGWA, the council, and the commissioners in regards to the lake levels. I think we're in a crisis situation, especially since Travis James gave us the economic impact study. This is really what has awakened a lot of citizens in Granbury. One of the things I'll say is I've visited over 500 citizens of Granbury and business owners, and it's very upsetting to hear what they say out there. One particular story is a woman on Water's Edge Drive that said she specifically bought her home to have her kids come and have her children and grandchildren inherit the home, and she said they don't want it anymore. And I can tell you I've been coming here since the 80s, and in 2005 I did the same thing. So I very much want to see what we can do with the attorneys to save our lake. Thank you.
I agree with everything everyone else has said regarding the lake, but it takes more than attorneys to fill the lake with water. You know, it takes, the BRA answers to somebody higher than us, obviously. We need a community to raise its voice as well and send those messages to our state leaders who can have an impact on some of the decisions that the BRA are making. I think we need to continue the path that we're going down. I agree it should have taken place much earlier. This is the second campaign in a row where this issue has been discussed, and we need to get with it, move forward, and do what we have to do to protect the citizens of Granbury and their property values and the tourism.
City Council hired a water rights lawyer about 5 or 6 months ago. So they started the process. They haven't done much with it. That should have been started probably way sooner than that. Lake Granbury Waterfront Property Owners Association has been a big spearhead to get things really moving, and I think to jab the council into acting further or faster, same with the commissioners, but I think now everybody is sort of on the same page and we're going forward. Maybe we're still a little bit splintered, but I think everybody is coming together. So hopefully we won't get water real quickly, because then we'll forget about it and we'll get lackadaisical about it again. But I think, you know, with the three-prong, the county, the city, and LGWA getting together, I think it's a good movement for everybody to be after the same solution. Yes, lawyers are needed because they made the laws, and so they've got to take care of the laws. Unfortunately, BRA has a whole lot more lawyers and more expensive lawyers than the rest of us do, so we had to get together and work it as a group, as a committee. Thank you.
BRA built the lake with proceeds. They sold water. The state legislature, somebody will correct me if I'm wrong, I believe the state legislature passed that so that they could sell water and impound water. Their big problem was they didn't do a good job in managing the water. They've sold more than they had. All of us also need to get together as a community and talk to the man upstairs and see if we can get more rain. That's one of the big problems on the lake. BRA is a problem, but the drought is another problem. I'm highly in favor of what's been done with the hiring lawyers and whatever. I hope it doesn't turn into a bottomless pit bottomless money pit on hiring the lawyers.
If I remember the question, it's how important are our attorneys for the lake and stuff, but I think they're very important, but I have to agree with Scooter over here next to me here that we have to manage that. We have to still be on board to make sure that our attorneys are giving us what we want. There's many, many people that are entered into lawsuits in the state of Texas because of the water, and we're not the only ones, but we have chosen what we think are the best attorneys to do what they can do for Granbury. And we have retained our water attorney, and we're still paying him also. But just like any attorneys with any kind of lawsuits, you have to put a fire under them because they're making a living at this. They're getting paid for this, and if they can drag their feet, they probably would. I'd hate to say that, but I mean, it is what it is. So we have to monitor it. We have to make sure that we're getting the best value out of these attorneys, and I think we've chosen the right attorneys, and I think we've got the right teams put on board because we have put together some teams to monitor what's going on with our attorneys and to make sure that all of our questions are answered. So I support it.
I support it 100%. Nobody likes to hire attorneys. I don't like to hire them when I have to, but we needed them in this situation to protect the water rights. 3 times in the last 25 years, they've come to the city and said, we had more water rights. We recalculated. I think they've already oversold the water rights in the lake, and I think it's going to take lawyers to convince the state board that that's the case. We should have started on this at least 2 years ago. Instead, the council at that time was selling water rights, our own water rights, to Dow Chemical on the coast, and that was a big mistake. I'm sure we all wish that water was still in the lake that was sold. We pay for more water rights than we use in the city. And that's why we've done that principally because we've been told 3 times there would never be any more water rights in the lake. And they continue not to be truthful about that. I would not increase it at all. I don't think it's too much. If you compare it with a county commissioner who makes over $70,000 a year, or the county judge who makes a little bit better than that, it's a fairly low salary, and it takes a lot more time than people recognize to do the job. The reason those salaries were put in place in the first place, when the citizens voted to change the charter to allow salaries, is we looked around the room and nobody, the only people on the council were either retired or wealthy, and they had a good business of their own and operated that business. And nobody who worked in Fort Worth, which is most of the working people in this town, could afford to be on the council because they couldn't afford to take off time from work without pay. So that was the reason it was instituted, but I think it's enough.
I think the salary right now is comparable for what the council and the mayors do, and I did look in the past where the salaries were extremely high, and I don't know what the citizens got for that, but when you look at that, if citizens or if somebody wants to serve as a council member or a mayor and they can't afford to do it, and they need more money to do it, then they probably should take care of their family needs first. They should probably go ahead and make sure that their family needs are taken care of with the job that they presently have, because I look at this as a civic duty. And when I got into the council, the civic duty was to serve the community, and if there was some compensation for that, very little, then I was willing to take that on, and like one of the councilmen down the road here said, most of that gets contributed back to fundraisers or people in the cities. But to raise a salary 154% is not what the salary should be for a councilman or a mayor. So I think the salaries right now are acceptable.
Well, if I'm elected or when I'm elected, I think the pay is adequate for what is being done. I'm not too sure that the time-wise that you spend that much time in doing city work if you have a city manager that's supposed to be doing and looking at all the work. We don't need to be out there every day checking on the amount of asphalt that's put down and all that. I think the salaries are adequate. I'm sure not running just for the salary.
Now I'm getting all kinds of microphones here, but I'm going to take them home with me. Anyways, yes, I am against raising the salary. It's $1,000 a month now for the council, $1,500 for the mayor. There's more going into it than just 2 meetings a month with the city council. They have committees to go to. They have out-of-town meetings. We had 2 of them that were down in Austin yesterday and came back tonight just for this. They should be going back again for tomorrow, but you know, it doesn't make sense to drive back to Austin again for lunch. So if we're paying the salaries that we're paying now, we're going to get some people that are at least educated, that they're willing to work with it. They aren't just going to be retired or very wealthy people that are going to be as members and such. So against raises, but the current salary is adequate. Thank you. Oh, you got your own now.
I took it from you.
Okay. I'll keep it.
I don't have a problem with the current salary. We even have one council member candidate who's willing to donate the salary to charity. I don't have a problem with that. I do have a problem with it being a campaign issue, but I applaud the effort. I think this is an opportunity for any individual wanting to serve on the city council to provide some community service and work towards the betterment of the community. I think whatever salary comes their way is going to offset whatever expenses that they incur by doing that job. Thank you.
I have a full-time job, so it's nice to get a salary, but I'm using most of my clothes. When elected, I want to utilize my salary to stay connected to the citizens of Granbury, the business owners of Granbury, and also support various organizations like the LGWA, HALO organization. Anything that we can do to support the community, that's what I would like to use my salary for, so I would not be in favor for a salary raise. Thank you.
John, check that to see if that microphone's actually on.
Testing.
Could y'all hear me back there?
No. Did y'all hear me?
It's not on. I apologize, it's not on. Now it's on.
Testing.
Yep, there you go.
Again?
No, they said they could hear me.
Okay, sure.
I don't want an extra salary.
The salary that we know is going in is what we agreed to. There's no reason for additional amounts. I do know, though, and I believe the current council is realizing when you have to do the job, there's a lot of homework. The budget that comes into the city is $39 million. I don't know if you know that. There's a responsibility of almost $60 million by this council. 2 years ago, the council decided to make a motion to pass an increase in their medical, and it was a $6,000 a year increase. I opposed that, and I let them know that I'd be happy to start a recall if they continued with that. Last year, they decided that they would have a motion to have a salary commensurate with Fort Worth's council and mayor. And we're talking about a giant increase. Mayor was going to get $48,000, and I did also threaten a recall, which the men seemed to believe that really they didn't need the increase.
I don't remember any of that, John, but I'm sure it happened. But I haven't missed a meeting. I remember you only been here 2 times in 3 years I've been here. One time was on the insurance that Ricky Pratt, the mayor, had brought up about it. Besides the 48 and the other, I never heard that, I'll be honest with you. I do think the salary's fair. I wouldn't ask for an increase. I've been down to Austin on the water for the last 3 months, probably 4 times, and I've caught rides either with the judge, Cockerham, or with Steve Berry. Let the county pick up our bill because they was going anyway. We'd drive down that morning and come back. So far as the raise, the first budget we had when I got on here, I'm the one that brought it up and said, hey, let's go back and cut this salary. We did. It was $1,800 a month and $2,200 a month and $45,000 or $46,000 for the mayor. We cut it a whole lot. I'll get on that later.
Well, I think the current salary is absolutely fair. I don't see any reason to raise that. I do look at it as a different layer of accountability. It is in place. I feel like it has to be earned, regardless of what it is. You know, in everyday work world, if you are out working for a salary, you need to earn it, and that holds me, and hopefully holds the rest of the council to a level of accountability to earn what is being paid with that. A few years ago, I was surprised to even find out that they got paid. You know, you hear stories of different cities that make a lot less, don't make anything, but make a lot more. So where it's currently at, I think is fair, and I certainly hope that I can earn that for you.
Yeah, I don't think any more money is good. I didn't honestly know that there was a salary for the city council. I thought that they're all volunteering their time. That seemed like a good idea to me. I think it would be reasonable to pay people for their time and pay people for their effort and the things that they do. If they go down to Austin, pay them to go down to Austin, but I don't see it as a money-making opportunity, and I don't think anybody here does either. I don't think it should be raised, but I think people should be paid for their time. Economic development. I think Granbury, the one thing that's really good about Granbury is we have a really low unemployment, and we have lots of jobs available for the people who are here. This question, I like this question because I've had people talk to me from small businesses who say, I would love to expand my business. The only problem is that if I put 3 feet onto the left side of the wall, I'm going to have to redo the whole thing in rock and redo the whole building, and it's just really expensive and really hard for people that have already existed to expand their businesses and to do what they need to do to expand. We, at the same time, we invite large businesses in and do whatever we can to make sure that they come into the town, and that's great. And I think all of the new businesses that come into the town should adhere to the codes that are existing, and to make it as beautiful as possible. We want our city to be attractive, but we also want to be able to help the small businesses expand and create more jobs in this town.
I think the building code should address the aesthetics of it as well as economic development. I had the pleasure of working through a new building here in Granbury 13 years ago, and I was blown away on the codes that were in place, how many trees, shrubs, and all of this stuff. I think there could be some lacks on that to help with the viability of helping especially small businesses come into town. I don't think we want a shanty industrial district built out there with no beautification standards out there, but so what I experienced, it was very, very tough at that particular time to maintain those codes. And if a tree died, you had to replace that tree and so forth, and no one knew 15 years later that tree even existed. So I think it is a two-sided sword on that issue.
I think beautification is great around commercial buildings, but I think it's a little bit out there. And I had the opportunity to sit on the council this last year when Jerry Duran came in with an industrial park. And we lowered the rock, the brick, a lot of stuff out there. It's not on Highway 344, or I'm sorry, 377 or 144, but I think our highways and stuff, we need to keep it looking good coming into Granbury. And the only way we're going to stop that is go out and annex further out. If you go outside the city limits of Granbury, you see metal buildings going up, coming into our highway. I think we need to annex further out. I met with Marshall's, the guy that's building Marshall's and Ross up here, and they said we were the hardest city to deal with. And that's not right, folks, because that's hurting us a lot of ways, not just tax ways, but also employees. And we're meeting with them. Scott Check, Gary Couch was with me, I think, on that deal. But anyway, we'll work on it. Minutes fast.
Catch my breath before you start. I'm we need to have a good-looking city, without a doubt. There's tremendous disparity and inconsistencies, however, and there's a friend in here tonight that built a building that is under the sphere of influence of our city, and they had to put in trees that they knew they were going to die. There's no water requirement to the trees. They had to put in lawn in the gutter because it had to be consistent with the codes of other buildings. You couldn't find this building if I gave you a month to find it. It's not even on a road that it goes you would drive by. Those kind of things really discourage business, and we need to be reevaluating, I believe, the code and looking at this a lot harder and realizing that businesses are in business to make money. And we've heard, I thought I was going to build a business here. I didn't know I was going to have to put in a nursery. That was a term that was used by one person who did not build here.
I agree. I think when you come into 377, we need to have strong codes for people that are coming into town and seeing our city. I think that's really important. There's a couple of buildings on 377 I feel are still an eyesore that they need to update and make sure that they make them a little bit more appeasing to the eyes. But I think outside of the city limits, perhaps we could do a little better job of bringing in more industry and higher paying jobs for Granbury. We need to think about that, especially if we don't get lake levels up. My sister and I both looked at a business here in town and talked to a banker and talked about purchasing a bed and breakfast in town, and there was a lot of codes that we were thinking about, and it was difficult to come up with the money that we thought we were going to need to come up with and run the business successfully. So I think individually we need to look at areas of concern, 377, the square, and maybe outside of that look at economic development differently.
I agree. I think economic development should be the key. We need to be able to promote economic development in the city. If we can get a byproduct of beautification during that process, that's wonderful. I think everybody wants to have a beautiful city to live and work and play in, but we also need to have an economic base in which the city will thrive in as well. So, if elected, I would encourage that we look at the economic development of the city and relax codes where necessary to encourage that development, but not go over the hill and have a city full of metal buildings. There needs to be a middle ground somewhere, and economic growth, I think, is the most important.
I've been on the Zoning Board of Adjustments for about 3 years now, and that's the biggest question we get. The nursery that is required in front of the new building or the remodeled building, remodeling the buildings with 30% rock, which is less than the 80% rock for new buildings. Either you have nice looking town or you have a town of metal sheds. If you're outside the city limit, it's basically metal sheds. We actually compromise, if you want to call it that, quite often with the potential new owner or somebody that wants to enlarge their property. They probably have been grandfathered in from being annexed earlier in their career and such, but we either end up having a lot of metal sheds or we make it look better. It doesn't take that much more rock to make the front of the building look nice. You don't really have to rock the back of it or spend that much money on the areas where people can't see, but either you have a good looking city or you have metal sheds.
Normal cities, your growth, a lot of your growth and employment come from expanding businesses that are already there. Granbury is almost prohibitive for some businesses, small businesses, to grow because of the requirements on the building. I've run into several things when I've been out talking to people that they would expand if they didn't have to do this and do that and all that. There's a lot of hoops to jump through if you're trying to upgrade your business in Granbury. And I think this is a real detriment to the city as far as growth. I'm like everybody else. I want a pretty city. Some of your metal, quote, sheds are not sheds. They're nice metal buildings. Some of them are sheds, but anyway, I think there's got to be a balance there somewhere.
Well, it sounds like everybody agrees that we want a beautiful city, and we do have a beautiful city. When you look at what the city builds in itself, they're beautiful buildings. And so I, for one, encourage, the beautification, but I also want to support bringing in businesses. And I think we can, as a council, as a mayor, we can sit down and talk with people and work through the issues that are out there. But we definitely need some kind of a standard. I've always lived in gated homes or homeowners associations where they had standards, because my neighbor might think his yard looks really, really good, but if it doesn't meet the standard, then he's going to have to improve on it. So it's no different than that with the city too. The people are probably not intentionally building a bad building or an ugly building or not doing what they need to do, but they really think that that's what looks good. And so there needs to be some kind of standard, needs to be something out there that lets these people know this is what we want in the community, and this is what we are going to require. And we've worked a lot of people with the EDC to try to get businesses in here, and I think we can continue to do that and work on that.
The answer to the question is both. You need economic development, but you also need standards. And the standards are not just so the city looks nice, it's so that the commercial buildings can carry the bulk of the taxes. Those buildings are worth more when the standards are higher. And if you all want to carry all of the load on homeowners, I don't think that anybody wants that. And the standards on homes are much lower than on commercial buildings. And as Tom said, the Board of Adjustment routinely waives standards when it's appropriate and in keeping with the state laws on that matter. So we don't, believe me, there are cities that have higher standards than Granbury. I have a business in one of them near Austin, and their standards are much higher than ours. So this is not the only city that has standards, almost all do. And as we grow in the metropolitan area, I think we're going to be glad that we kept those standards so that our taxes can be more shifted to commercial than to homeowners. Thank you. Well, I would be for that, and I would voluntarily take a drug test. I think drug tests and criminal history checks both should be done. We do criminal history checks on all the employees at the City of Granbury. In my business, I do criminal history checks on every person that I employ, and often am not able to employ them because of that. So I would voluntarily do that as a candidate or as a city council member. The council voted that down recently, and I would have supported it.
Rephrase that question real quick. Should they be subject to it?
No, it just says, should all elected officials be subject to a drug test?
Well, first of all, if they're going to be subject to that, then that's the way that it should be spelled out, because when you pick up an application to be a city councilman or mayor and stuff, there is no requirement on there that you pass a drug test. Now I worked up in the corporate world for 33 years, and most of the employees, they were required to have one, and then after they got that drug test, if somebody was working in say driving a fork truck or something like that, where they would put somebody in danger, they were required to take a random test also, to where it ensured the safety of all the people around them. Now, a council person or a mayor or elected officials that do not participate in that kind of stuff, I don't know that it would be required, but I'm like Mr. Southern here. If somebody wants me to take one, or if I feel like that I need to go take one on my own, on my money, on my time, and say, here, I passed the drug test, I would certainly do that. But in the long run, if they want to make that mandated and put that on the application, then that's what it would be. Thanks.
A month ago, they turned down the voluntary drug test. Is that right, Tony? I'm in favor of what was voted down, a random voluntary drug test for our city council.
It was a nice little campaign issue. Let me get one maybe this one works. Okay. It was a nice little campaign issue, but really I think it's a non-issue. From what the council said, none of them were taking drugs. None of them were concerned about it because they would pass it no matter what. So, you know, I don't worry about a DUI or a drug test because I don't drink very much and I don't take drugs at all. So it's sort of a non-issue because I think most people are already admitting to it that they don't take them. I think if we had somebody that we're concerned about, there must be some other way we could find out or weed them out by other means as opposed to making them have a random or a mandatory drug test. But I don't have any problem with it because, like I said, I don't take drugs and I don't drink very much. I usually on vacation, that's when I drink, and I'm not on vacation, so.
My position on this is elected officials are not required to take drug tests. I don't care who you are, what elected office you hold, you're not required to take drug tests. Appointed offices, yes. Employees, yes. But elected officials are not required to take drug tests. Would most elected officials volunteer to take drug tests? Of course. I don't think anybody has a problem with it. Should it be a requirement? I don't know. Make it an item for the public to decide. I don't think anybody has a problem with it.
He stole my answer. So I feel the same way, and so, you know, it's a tough opponent. But I do think that the taxpayers ought to decide, because if we have to take a drug test, the taxpayers are going to have to pay for it. I work for a healthcare corporation. I am subject to a random drug test at any time, and if they want mine, they can have it. But you never know what people are doing when they're traveling to Austin or anything else, and they are being represented by the city of Granbury. So I think, again, my motto is to reach out and serve everyone, and I think the taxpayers ought to decide whether or not they want the city council to take the drug test. But I'm in favor of taking one if I need to take one.
Tony made the motion to do this a few weeks ago, and the motion was not seconded, mainly because the city attorney gave a 20-minute dissertation of violating our constitutional rights, subject to punitive lawsuits. Besides that, there's nothing in our charter that says what to do if somebody failed the drug test. So, you know, in good faith, I hope you know that I'm not a drug abuser or a user or what have you. If you believe that, you shouldn't vote for me. And I think our city has hung it out too much in wrongful terminations, contracts that were questionably subject to lawsuits. And this is one more situation that's going to make the city vulnerable and your tax dollar vulnerable for punitive damages.
Just in case y'all don't know, I'm the one that put that on the agenda. And I was serious about it, and the way I felt about it was if we asked our employees to do it, we should be as good as our employees. We should set the example. Yes, I did make a motion, but it wasn't for the drug test. It was voluntary to do it. It was on their own. They could do it or not do it. Not a second was made. I can't answer for the other gentleman on the council, but I have nothing to hide, folks. And as Mr. Baker said, it was a campaign deal or whatever he said. I actually brought this up the first year I was on the council in our budget meeting, and I was concerned about it. And at that time, our attorney said it couldn't be done unless we did everybody. And then it had a change of heart. So I still stand by it. I don't do drugs, never done drugs, and not going to do drugs. Unless about 9 pills I take every morning has got drugs in them, I don't know. And if you're not going to vote for me because you want me to have a drug test, we got a problem. Come and talk to me.
Well, if the citizens of Granbury wants their council members to be drug tested, then so be it. I think if I was electing a person to serve my community or church, whatever it may be, that I've entrusted that individual to act with a clear mind and clear heart, to where I don't have to worry with that individual doing drugs. Now, if there's ever an incident where the citizen feels that, me personally, I can't speak for anybody else up here, that I need to go take a drug test, I'll be more than happy to do it. As a matter of fact, I took one today for work, so I don't think it's necessary.
Okay, I'll agree with that. I don't think it's necessary in that the city is electing our city councilman, and to say that everybody who the people of Granbury elect has to be drug tested says that the city of Granbury doesn't know what they're doing. I think the city of Granbury does know what they're doing. If anyone wants me to take a drug test, I'll take a drug test. And I'm sure any of these guys on this council, if we're asked to take a drug test, would take a drug test voluntarily. But I don't think it should be mandatory. If they want to do it on their own, that's fine. And I just don't see how not trusting the people with the voters and saying everybody who they elect is suspect, just like anybody who has a job, or they could be doing something dangerous in the city council and they need to be drug tested. I'll take a drug test right now. Any of these people on this board will probably take a drug test if they were asked to. I just don't see it as a viable issue. No, I don't think so, because if you're being offered something that's going to help the economic prosperity of the town, you should take that opportunity to do so. There was an opportunity to take that and make something that's going to help Granbury in the long run, and I know it's an economic burden to be able to have the upkeep for that expensive building, but I think in the long run, tourism and having a vibrant square is very important. And spending that extra money on something that's free when they get given it doesn't seem to be a bad fiscal choice, in my personal opinion.
I agree. I've tried to go back and research and try to find out the reason why, if the council, whichever council members there were that voted that down, I can't judge on their decision at that time. I wasn't part of it, but it seems to me that a lot of money, well, absolutely, a lot of money could have been saved that possibly could have gone to another project or funneled elsewhere within that project. So again, I don't want to judge any of the members who made that decision, but I don't understand it personally. So.
Well, I voted against it. And the reason for it was talking with Bill Scott after the fact. I didn't know all this to begin with. He's with Scott Tucker. He's the one building the building now. He said if we took the building, it would have cost us right at $1 million to get it up to standards. New air conditioners. We had asbestos in the other building. He said we had it in there. He felt like it might even be worse. We would have gained about 5 or 6 bathrooms. The new design we got plenty of bathrooms for the women and men. We got a concession stand. I call it the Taj Mahal. It's going to be a nice building. Nothing's free in life. You tell me you're going to give me a car, it's not free. You got to buy gas for it, insurance for it, and may even have to get a new tire for it every now and then. Our budget was 1.2. It was passed in 2007. Nothing was done on that building until we started it. We had drawings at 2.2. New councilman came on, said he could do it for 1.7 with a committee. I recommend him to get it going. Our cost is 3.4.
It's hard to understand why you would refuse that. It's my understanding from people in the know that are closely related to the gift that one of the reasons we've gone to $3.4 million was the reason we didn't accept the gift. The bathrooms are costly, and those costly bathrooms are part of that $3.4 million. And what I see and what motivates me to pursue this office is a decision-making body that's making decisions without homework. We find out later that things should have gone a different direction. And every time that happens, we're taking your money away from you and using it ineffectively. So that's a concern, and I would have certainly accepted the building and the offer, and fortunately, with that, we would have saved money.
It's another topic that I was going to cover in my close, so I won't have to say much when I close. I've been going to council meetings for a little over a year and a half now, probably close to 2 years. Haven't missed many meetings, and the Opera House was one of the reasons why I started coming, that and the issues with the lake. I agree that we should have taken the gift and worked with what we had, or since we didn't take the gift, that we could have stayed within a budget and not worked with an open checkbook. I think that we could have slowed down and planned this project and had contractors bid it out. And I know people were frustrated and wanting to get it open, but I think we could have. No one buys a house and tells a builder to build a house and says build it for whatever you want to build it for. We should have had a budget and we should have had it planned out. So that is what got me fired up to run.
I agree completely. I think that the citizens stepped up to the plate as a community and proposed this gift to the city council to help with one of our city's crown jewels. And they didn't even have a chance to move forward with it. They were talking about extra costs that it would take to bring that up to speed and make it part of the Opera House. We've far exceeded those costs on the current footprint. We haven't gained any additional seats with the additional money being spent. So I think it was a bad decision with bad leadership and very minimum involvement and not having the facts. And that's one of the reasons why I'm running for city council, is to bring that leadership.
I've been an advocate of the Opera House ever since we've been talking about it. I'm a voluntary manager of the concession stand right now. I put in about 15 to 20 hours a week with that. But I think we still have spent too much money on the new Opera House. The original proposal for St. Helen was $600,000 for the purchase, $100,000 in cash was being given also. Twice, council members said we would take it if you offered to us. Twice they turned us down. Some of those council members no longer are with us. They've gone on. Some of them are still here. They tore down the Quonset hut because it was old and ugly and it had to come down, but they had no idea what was going to replace it. So now we had to build new space to replace it. We've got almost, I think it's 11,000 square feet now that is going to be the Opera House. Half of it's going to be brand new, half of it will be old. Yes, we have not gained any seats, but we have gained some space in it. If we had St. Helens building as part of it, it would have been different and we'd have had more social areas, more places that we can do multiple things as opposed to having a very small lobby. It's larger than it used to be, but it's still a very small lobby.
Things the city does, I don't know why it takes so long. This is one of the things that has gone on and on and on. The highway department is notorious for being slow. They built a bypass since we started the Opera House, and it's complete, and we can go 45 miles an hour on it. I hated to see the Quonset hut torn down because I used to shoot Indians in there when they had feed and peanuts and everything stacked in there, and you could hide and you could shoot over those sacks of peanuts. But the city, in a lot of projects, seems to don't plan ahead or something because it takes too long to get it done. I know there's decisions to be made that have to be made with the council, and you got to wait till they meet, all that. But things need to be speeded up.
I got to agree that it took a long time to do that when I got on the council, and I was one of them that voted to not to accept the St. Helen building, and that was the biggest decision I had to make that night, and I lost sleep over it and everything else. But I have went up there since then every week and looked at that building and thought to myself, what if we'd have kept that? And you know what, my decision's still the same, because as we go into the construction of that building and look at what it took to rebuild that and remodel it, most of the cost has been the renovation and the construction of the old building. Now you add to that and you're going to have a big dollar amount on that. And the 1.2 was not the money set aside to do it. That was grant money set aside to help us restore our opera house. And I don't think we could have restored a single footprint and just put new bathrooms and wallpaper and everything on there for $1.2 million. As anybody's done any remodeling or reconstruction, it takes a lot of money. So, you know, when I look at it and I talk to people, that was what I would think was the right decision. It was voted in by 3 council members, and so you're going to be faced with that down the line some other time. You know, at least that thing was done outside in front of the citizens. They knew what we were voting on, and 3 council members voted to take it. Thank you.
Well, obviously, I don't agree. The $1.2 million was a bond issue that, along with several other bonds that we got for other things. We were going to fix it for the $1.2 million and could have in the footprint that it's in, plus adding on a little bit to the back, not the long wing walls that are there now. The folks that raised the money not only raised money for the building and $100,000 in about 3 weeks, but they also pledged to continue to raise more money. I've been in a theater in Grand Prairie where the exact same thing was done. They took the building next door and made lobbies and entrance and had refreshment area and bathrooms. And that building is a perfect example of what we could have done had we not gutted the entire building, tore down the Quonset hut, and then decide maybe we ought to have a plan. Thank you. I suppose that question was designed for me. At the time, we had been chosen by one of the states, actually, in South Korea, the island state. It actually was a state, not just a city. And we went to many places. And the city only paid $1,400 for that trip because the Korean government paid for everything on the other side. So all that was paid for was the airfare. Everything else was paid for by the Korean government. And it has, I think, been a good cultural exchange for us. We have had students in our schools. We took students with us to their schools, and that has been a good cultural exchange for the city. And I think there were 2 of us that flew for $1,400 apiece twice. So basically that's $5,600 that was spent on both trips. Thank you.
I disagree. I don't think we had any business going over to Korea, Washington, or anywhere to promote Granbury or do whatever we was doing over there in Granbury, and it was $1,800 a piece that they spent when they went over there after you paid for the meals and everything else. And yeah, they lodged them, and they probably should have, because they did come back over here and do that same thing. But folks, you know, we've got so many things to do right here in Granbury, and we need to continue to work on building Granbury and not spending the taxpayers' money to do a trip to these places and try to even promote business, because I don't know that there's any business out there to promote. And at that time, the council and the mayor were making a lot of money, like $46,000 a year. So, you know, you tag that on top of trips and everything else. And folks, you know, I don't know what we were getting for our money, but I absolutely do not encourage the council to make trips like that, or the mayor to make trips like that. I mean, we've got business right here in Granbury, Texas that needs to be taken care of. And if we need some help, we'll go to Arlington or we'll go up to Austin to get some help. But that's all the further we need to be traveling.
Well, I didn't know they traveled to Korea, and I think they ought to send the mayor when I'm elected to Hawaii or Alaska. I think we could find something to do up there. I think probably it was not a good idea. It's been done. They probably won't do it again because of the flack we got or whatever from doing it. But I know there needs to be some travel, like Nan mentioned, to Austin. You've got to go down there and meet with people a lot of times. Having been in the real estate business and executive of the Real Estate Association here in Granbury for 10 years, I was making at least one trip a month to Austin on different business for just the realtors. So some of those trips need to be paid for, maybe not all of them, but if you're going on city business, you need to be paid for it.
Oh, you can't help it.
I've participated in the cultural exchange program that we had with the Korean people. It was quite interesting for us to spend money, taxpayers' money, to fly over there and visit. Okay, it might only be $1,400, but I think we could find some group of citizens or committee of people or a business that wanted to support that instead of using our actual taxpayer money, our city council money to go. If a council member wanted to go, then more power to them, but they can take it up on their own tab and not have it on the public tab. Yes, we need to go to Austin too frequently. Arlington, I've been there 4 times in the last couple weeks just for Opera House stuff, and I've gotten tired of doing that. But you know, that's only a couple dollars of gas and such. No, we don't need to spend money going to Korea or other places. We have economic development people that can do that for us and get better results.
Going to Austin is different from going all the way on the other side of the world. The federal government has a nickname for it because they do it so much. It's called a boondoggle.
Never heard of that term. You know, that happened before my time, and I think it would be irresponsible for me to make a comment on it. It's like the Opera House. The horse has already left the building, and we can't change it, so I'm going to defer comment on that one.
Could you repeat the question so I can answer whether yes means no or no means yes?
Well, let's see here. It says, what are your thoughts about using taxpayers' money to fund trips to Granbury's sister city in Korea?
Thank you. I think we need to do things that are cost-effective and that end up being a plus or at least a break even. There's nothing wrong with promoting our city, but if it doesn't make sense dollar-wise, it's a foolish expenditure of our tax money. This issue of expenses for travel was brought up by Tony a few weeks ago, and I apologize for my negativism. I'm in this race because of things that I see that are handled improperly. The issue was brought up indicating that this money was used flagrantly. So what's the answer? The answer is put a cap on it. So they put a $5,000 cap. The council put a $5,000 cap on each council member, and the answer should have been, let's review the guidelines and have some types of restrictions so we can control how money is being spent by our councilmen. But they don't want that restriction.
Well, first of all, as y'all know, we don't get along evidently on the council because we vote different ways. But I don't think the citizens of Granbury wants a rubber stamp up here on every issue that comes through. Whenever I got on the council, I passed a deal. Any out-of-state, I didn't pass it by myself. We had a majority vote. To pass any out-of-state travel, they had to be brought before the council. Since then, there's been nobody going to Egypt, Europe, or anywhere else. Also, I pulled an open record report. And I don't have the education that John has. I'll be the first to tell you. I got a little common sense, but I don't have the education. If I had his, I'd be running for school board because he'd be good at it. I guarantee you. I'd vote for him for school board. But, but honestly, I went to the county and talked to them and asked them how they did their travel, and they said they split it up. And that's what I put on the table, and everybody's got the same amount to spend. Most of us are not going to use that. Like going to Austin, I don't get paid a nickel more for going to Austin. If I can bum a ride, it don't cost the taxpayers of our city nothing. So I try to be fair with our travel. I see you, man.
Well, I'm going to answer for Tony and I both. We didn't agree with that Korea trip since he didn't actually tell us about that. Well, I can't, judge on what was done back then. I don't know the benefit of that today. I mean, I may have a brotherly or sisterly love over there that I don't know about, but as a citizen, I don't think I gained anything out of that. Maybe in the future, if a council member sees fit for that, they can get a group of people who believe in that and let them go fundraise for it. Go do a cakewalk. So I don't know, but I don't see the benefit of that.
Yeah, I think it's a great vacation deal, $1,800 for a trip to Korea. A lot of people take that, but for a city council to go to another country to look at things, I don't see how that benefits us economically here in Granbury. And it's just as simple as that. There's no benefit, why do it? All right, my name is Phoenix Sandale, and I would like you to vote for me. That's why I'm on the ballot. I believe I offer a little bit different perspective. I seem to agree on a lot of things with these other people, but I'm a fresh face. I'm an average person. It's a case of Mr. Smith goes to Washington. I have a full-time job. I don't have a restaurant. I don't have anything special. I don't have it. 13 degrees. I'm just an average person that talks to a lot of people and just wants to make common sense decisions.
Again, my name is J.T. Wynn. I'm running for place 2 of the City Council. I cannot admonish or say anything negative about past City Councils and decisions that were made. What I can say for myself, and the main reason that I'm doing this is I am part of this community. I will be part of this community for a long time. I want to leave a legacy for my family, for my children, and to use my morals, my integrity, the will of God to hopefully help move this city that I'm going to be part of and move it to the direction that's going to make Granbury even better. I'm not doing it for the fame and glory or anything like that, because I really believe, the City Council can have a lot to offer. I hope that whoever's elected with me, that we can get along, that we can work with one true vision of moving the city of Granbury forward. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I'm Tony Allen. I'm asking for your vote tonight. I need y'all to vote for me. I'm not a long-term politician. I'm a short-term. My age is catching up with me. So I do need your vote. But there's several problems that we still got to work out, and one of them is our lake level. We discussed it tonight over and over and over. That could be the biggest impact upon our city. Our spending, I voted to lower the electrical rate, lower our taxes 2 times since I've been on the council. Voted to have the council approved out of state. I've already said that. Voted to cut the salary the first year I was here on the budget. I think it should have been done a long time ago. I don't know how many of y'all have seen this pipe sticking out of the ground down here by the Hilton. That was done before I was on here. That cost us over $100,000 for just attorney fee, folks. We need good contracts. We need good management. I agree with everybody up here. I mean, we need to do our due diligence. A lot of this stuff we got before I ever got on, but we're working on it. Thank you.
John Bratta, Place 2, City Council. I did retire in 2007 from education. I do want to make it clear that I only own a lakefront property that my wife and I have retired at. I have no business. I have no rentals. I have no investment property, and I have no ulterior motives other than to serve you. I'm married to my wonderful wife, Peggy. We have 4 wonderful married children, happily married children, 7 grandchildren, 2 great-grandchildren. We have 2 retired Marines in our family, a fighter pilot and a recon sniper. We have currently our youngest son-in-law is in 12 years. He has 7 overseas tours of duty, He's currently in Afghanistan. Our daughters are nurses, deputy sheriffs, and a counselor for the Arlington Pregnancy Center. I'd like to tell you I'm proud and I'm blessed, and we're proudly present. I represent the conservative Christian values, and I give God all the glory. I believe I've been prepared and competently serve in Granbury with many areas that lie ahead. Going to take me away from my final line. I have the microphone. I appreciate the opportunity and your time and effort this evening for your critical consideration. Thank you.
I can't even talk. I'm laughing so hard. Okay. Well, I'm Rose Myers, and I'm running for Place 4, and it would be an honor for all of y'all to vote for me and allow me to serve. As I said, we've been coming here since the 80s, and I can tell you that I'm so blessed to tell you that my children and my grandchildren have learned to ski on this lake, and I hope to continue to stay here and enjoy the blessings of living on this lake. I've spent a year and a half looking at council meetings. I attended the budget meeting. I think my expertise in corporate America can transfer right into the council spot. I think that I have a positive attitude. I'm a planner. I'm a visionary. I have a lot of teamwork aspects. I've won 9 national awards, which is hard to do in a big corporation, and I really want to help y'all. So if y'all have any questions, I have some cards and some flyers, and I'll be happy to answer any questions for you after the forum. Thank you.
My name is Ken Gray. I'm running for Place 4, Granbury City Council. My wife and I moved to Granbury from Salt Lake City, Utah, almost 4 years ago. We moved here to take care of my mom, who prior to that lived with me for 10 years after my dad passed. We moved here to make sure that she was taken care of, and I could offer my other sisters that were already residents of Granbury the support that they need to help her down her final years of life. It wasn't until I actually moved here that I found out what a wonderful place it was, although I had visited here many times in the past. The longer I spent living here, becoming more closely engaged with the community and the local politics, I found that my leadership background with the U.S. Coast Guard and managing a major IT department in Salt Lake City, I could bring the leadership, guidance, and proactive vision to the city government to where we can make this a great place to live and a great place to visit. Thank you.
I'm Tom Baker, as the sign says. I've been here for 5 years now, and I may never be a Texan, but I really consider myself a Granburian. I don't have boots, I don't have a belt buckle, I don't have a pickup truck, but this is Granbury, this is my home. As much as I've disagreed with a lot of things that Tony has said and Tony has done, I still eat it as a restaurant, and we still can talk as somewhat boy to boy or man to man, however you want to look at it. He teases me, I tease him back, but that's okay. If I like you, I tease you. He still doesn't do a lot of things right, but that's okay. You know, we're all sort of watching Matt here, and he keeps waving at us, but you know, we've got the end of the floor now, and all we can do is be fired, so nobody's going to listen to him anymore. But I really would enjoy your support. I have been looking at things happening with the city council for over 4 years. One of the members of the panel here asked me what I was doing to prepare, and actually I started like 4 years ago. I didn't realize it then, but I've been involved with a lot of things with the community and know some of the philosophies that the council is using to make their decisions. And sometimes they make good ones, sometimes they don't. There goes Matt again, but okay, we'll move on. So thank you, and I would enjoy your support. And yes, there are brochures out there if you can pick them up if you'd like. Thank you.
Thank you all for coming tonight. It's been a lot of fun for me. I've been disappointed in this city several times. One time when they started the restrooms down there behind the Opera House, that's where I was born, and I thought they were going to put a monument there to me, but they didn't.
There is one.
Yeah, it says boys or men or something. But anyway, I've enjoyed living in Granbury and seeing it grow and prosper. I've had a good time tonight, and I wish we could do this again. I thank all of you for coming. I've got an information sheet here to pass out if you want to. I haven't started walking the streets yet, but that'll start pretty soon. Thank you again for your attention and support.
You still had 15 seconds.
No.
I'm Nen Hewlett, and I'm presently serving as the mayor pro tem and as the acting mayor. But I grew up on a farm in northern Missouri, and then we moved to the big city of Kansas City, where I finished up my education. I served in the military during the Vietnam War and got out, went into the corporate world, and again finished my education while I was working for the big company of General Motors. I served in several capacities there, so I bring a lot of the management skills and some of the skills of just growing up on a farm to the city of Granbury, and I've really been pleased with serving the city of Granbury as their mayor pro tem, and I want to continue to serve the city of Granbury as their mayor. I've enjoyed it, and the citizens have been out there and supportive. The staff has been out there and supportive, and that's what makes the job fun, because the citizens out there, they join together, they help me do what I need to do, and so I want to continue to be your mayor of Granbury. Thank you.
Excuse me. Granbury is a great place to live and to work and to visit, and it's because of a lot of thought and vision that have taken place over the last 35 to 40 years by numerous local elected officials and individuals in organizations that are charitable throughout our community. I wouldn't live anywhere else. I love living here, and I loved being a part of helping the city vision the future that we can be. I agree with Ronald Reagan. Our best years are yet to come. They're not in the past. We're going to do better in the future and have a better time, but we've got to be proactive in getting our lake levels up and doing other kinds of things that we need in this community. Like, I'm advocating a police officer in every school. I'm trying to reform utility rates. Our electric rates are too high, and we've got to expand our economic development as well. Thank you.
All right, guys, I tell you what, I'm not running for anything. My name is Don Poe. I would say I'm running for the border if I had to sit through this. That's a pretty interesting way to spend an afternoon and evening. But I tell you, I think we need to give all these candidates a round of applause.